Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I have with me Dean Byrd, the Dean of Enrollment Management at Iowa Law, and he will be sharing tips on how to approach the law school admissions process and any tips he has on making the best of your law school application so you can come out on the other side successful. So let's get right into it. Thank you for joining me today. It's really great having you here. It's an opportunity for students to get a better sense of the law school admissions process and what law schools look for. So some of the questions will not necessarily focus on Iowa law. They will also be generally related to the law school admissions process.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
without further ado, if you don't mind, can you give a brief rundown of your role in law school admission?
Sure. My name's Collins Byrd. I'm the Assistant Dean of Enrollment Management at the University of Iowa College of Law. I am responsible for coordinating the process of marketing for the students. I try to find the people who are interested in the law school. We call them prospects or suspects. And then I am responsible for coordinating the information that we exchange with the students or the prospects or suspects. And then once the person decides to apply for admission, I'm responsible for coordinating the process that is used to evaluate their application for admission. So I have a committee of individuals, most of whom are law school professors, who help me read all the applications and make decisions on the files. In the Iowa law process, all files are reviewed by a at least one live person. I can't speak for all the law schools around the country, but I think most of them do that the same way. That you may have one or two people, you may have a bunch of people who meet on a regular basis, but I'm responsible for coordinating that process. And so I work with a committee of law school faculty members, and there are a couple of administrators on that committee as well to evaluate the file. Here at Iowa, I read all the applications, whether they're at the high end, the low end, middle of the pack, wherever they are. I'm the only one on the committee that reads all the applications. I think that's important because you need to, number one, make sure that at least one person, live person, reviews the file. And number two, if anything goes wrong in this process, regardless of what it is, they're going to come to me. They being the deans, the faculty, the students, the staff, someone is going to come to me. And so I think it's important that I have some sense of ownership for what's in that application. Once we make a decision on an application, and I'm sure we'll at some point get into all the different things we look at when we're evaluating a file. But once we make a decision on an application, especially to offer admission to a student, I'm responsible for coordinating the post admission recruitment process. And I have a number of people here at the College of Law who help me do that. We uh, interact with the students on by phone, email. We have a number of different Zoom meetings. We interact with them, with our students, our faculty, and our staff. We make as many contacts with an individual student as we can before they have to make a decision as to where they want to go to law school. Because one of the strengths of our school is we really like that personalized approach. And we try to emphasize that in not only what we tell students, but also how we operate. So I'm in charge of the whole process. I call it from cradle to grave. And I have a number of people here who help me do that. But I'm the person that has to sort of oversee all these different pieces to help me put this puzzle together.
That's awesome. And speaking of what you look for in a student, what character qualities do you look for in a strong applicant?
Sure. Uh, the LSAT score, law school admission test, and the undergraduate, cumulative undergraduate GPA are always going to be a part of the process. And I'm not going to dwell on that too much here because I can talk about that in depth if you'd like. But the LSAT and GPA are going to be a part of the process. But there's some additional things that we look for in an applicant. And I think I speak for most law schools. They have different ways of getting at this information. But the additional pieces are a person's interpersonal skills, work experience if they have any, activities outside of work or school, career focus. And by that I mean, do they have a pretty good sense of what they want to do with a law degree or where they fit in the legal profession. They don't have to necessarily practice law with a law degree, but they have some sense, some long-term vision of how that degree is going to be a tool to help solve problems. So career focus is important. Motivation. Motivation is a big one. Obviously, law school is a difficult challenge, but the other part of motivation is perseverance. Because if you ask any law school student, they will tell you no matter what their LSAT score was or GPA was when they were coming out of college, there's going to be one day, usually in the first year of law school, when they're going to be clueless. They're going to sit there and go, boom, ho, and then they're going to look around to see if everyone else looks as clueless as they do. And the answer will be 90% of them will. The other
Absolutely.
10% are faking it. They're trying to act like they know what's going on when they won't, and they don't. So that's why you have study groups, because the assumption on the part of the faculty, when you're coming into law school as a first year law school student, you don't know what you're talking about anyway. So it's okay to have that day when you don't really know what's going on. But the reason why perseverance is important is because it gives you that sense internally that says, okay, I may not know what's going on today. I may have gotten the wrong answer today. I may have responded inappropriately today the wrong way, but I'm going to come back tomorrow better. I'm going to do my homework, do my assignments, and I'm going to come back, recreate myself, and be better tomorrow. And if you put a number of those days together, be better tomorrow and the next day and the next day, by the time you know it, you're going to be at the end of your first year of law school or at the end of your third year of law school, and you will have said to yourself, I got it. I figured it out. The first couple of weeks of school, the first month of school, there were those days when I didn't know what was going on. And then things begin to click. Things begin to click. And that's when you know you've got it. So that's why perseverance is important, to not get down on yourself on that first or second bad day you have, because everyone's going to have it. Um, Final two things: sensitivity to the human condition, or empathy, being able to look at the world through someone else's eyes. Because as a lawyer, that's going to be your job, to look at the world through the eyes of your client, whether that client is a large corporation, someone who's homeless, a higher education institution, an individual who is a good person who just wants to stay good, or an individual who is maybe a good person, maybe isn't a good person, but they're in a really bad spot. You have to look at the world through the eyes of your client and have some empathy and some humanity for that person and the situation that he or that entity is in, and help solve that problem. And the final thing is problem solving skills, because ultimately that's what graduate school does for you. It teaches you to solve other people's problems. And one of the things we look for in that problem solving piece is what I call a world view as opposed to a view of the world. A view of the world is a more narrow, myopic, sometimes political opinion. I'm not paid enough money in the world to judge your political opinion. You believe whatever you want to believe, as long as it's legal and ethical. Okay, there are some limits, as we have seen recently. There are some limits to what is legal and ethical. And we all know what that is. Read the
Absolutely.
Constitution, call a lawyer, they'll tell you what legal and ethical is. But I am not paid to judge people's political opinions. We get people here who lean to the left, lean to the right, middle of the road. That's fine. That's your right. That's your problem. That's your burden. Good luck. But I am looking for people who solve problems with what I call a worldview. People who are able to look at a problem and pull their blinders back and solve that problem from a number of different angles or perspectives. And that's why it's important to have a diverse set of opinions coming into a problem solving situation. So, LSAT and GPA, interpersonal skills, work experience, if you have any. It's not required that you have work experience, but we like to see it if you have it. Uh, Activities outside of work or school, career focus, motivation and perseverance, empathy, and problem solving skills. It's a pretty long list, but those are the things that we're all thinking about. Me and the people in my profession are thinking about when we're trying to make a decision on a file.
That's really helpful. And I know you spoke about work experience. So for students who work full time during undergrad and earn other professional certification as well, is this taken into consideration when applications are reviewed? And is this an advantage over other applicants who do not necessarily have this professional work history?
I think it is an advantage. I think people who have some type of work experience prior to law school have more to talk about. They have a greater portfolio of personal and professional experiences that they can bank on and reflect on when they're trying to make a decision. And so there are some advantages to having some work experience. Now, I tell students or prospects, enter law school when you're at your optimal point to do well in law school. And if that means you're ready to go to law school right out of undergrad, go right out of undergrad. We're not going to hold it against you, the fact that you're right out of undergrad. But I have found in my career that people with work experience have more focus. They have a greater sense of who they are and why they're going to law school and what they want to do with their law degrees when they're done. Their decisions are based on, I think, a bit more reason and reality and rational thought, as opposed to folks who sort of see what lawyers do on TV and they say, gee, I want to do that. And then they get into law school and they realize what they saw on TV wasn't close to what lawyers actually do. And so work experience does help. Um, in all the years I've been doing this, and I've worked at schools that have part-time programs, full-time programs, some part-time and full-time. I have yet to meet a person who has ever had work experience and who came to me and said, Mr. Byrd, I should have come to school right away. Man, that work experience was just, that was a waste of time. I don't know why I did it. But I have met a number of students who have not had work experience and who have come to me in the hallways and said, man, I could have taken that extra year or two off and thought through what I wanted to do. They'll come around to it. They'll figure it out. They're smart enough to figure it out. But work experience has some advantages. But all that said, let me repeat, I don't hold it against you if you don't have it. But the people who do have it just have a greater portfolio of life experiences to fall back on and talk about.
That is really helpful. So when it comes to common mistakes applicants make, I know you've seen several. Can you highlight a couple that applicants can take a look at or pay attention to when
Mhm.
they're submitting?
Sure. The one that comes to mind right away is humor. A lot of people try to be funny in their applications for admission, and in particular on their personal statements. Be very careful about what you write and what you think of as funny in your personal statement, because one person's pleasure is another person's pain, and you don't know who's reading that application. So I would avoid anything that you think is funny, because usually humor is a rather myopic thing. I mean, what I think is funny may not be what you think is funny. And if you start saying something you think is funny, you quickly realize that you're offending someone. So I would just avoid humor altogether and focus on telling us in the personal statement why you need a law degree. So this leads to number two, aside from humor. Number two, use that personal statement to tell us why you need a law degree. Do not use the personal statement to rehash the things that are on your resume. Many law schools ask for a resume as a part of the admissions process. Don't use your personal statement to rehash your resume. We have a copy of your resume. We don't need to see you talk about it in some poetic way. It's right there, and we can see that. Use the personal statement to tell me why you need a law degree. And notice what I said, why you need one, not why you want one. Because, and I'll be honest about this, I don't care why you want one. Why you want one is your business, and it's usually very internal. And again, it's a very myopic decision. But why you need one is very different. Why you need one is something that says, no matter what I do, there's a problem out there in society that I just have to be a part of solving. And I don't make judgments on what that problem is. If you want to go into corporate law, do it. If you want to go into criminal criminal or civil cases, do it. If you want to go into higher education law, intellectual property, there are hundreds of different occupations you can get into with a law degree. I don't make that judgment, but you need to use that personal statement as a tool to tell us why you need a law degree. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just sort of tell us what's on their resumes, or just give us general ideas on rehashing their lives, on something funny that happened in their lives, and they never tie that that thing that they talk about in the personal statement, they never tie it back into why they need a law degree. So avoid humor and use the personal statement properly to tell me why you need a law degree.
That's really, really helpful. And I think it gives a lot more insight because I know personal statements are a very tricky thing to work on. But then going into the diversity statements, when would you suggest that one should write one and when would you suggest against writing one?
Sure. Use the personal statement to tell me why you need a law degree. And again, I'll get into the diversity statement in a minute, but they're connected in a way because sometimes you can use one to do both things. Use the personal statement to talk about that problem that you see out there down the road and the steps that a law degree and the tools that a law degree will provide for you that will help you solve that problem. Problem needs to be solved. Then there's me. A law degree will give me these tools to solve that problem. Okay, use that personal statement for that. Use an addendum or a diversity statement to talk about those aspects of your life that may not necessarily be driving you to go to law school, but it's important that we know about them. Um, for example, you may be a underrepresented student in some way. Could be a person of color, a woman, someone who's low on a socioeconomic scale. You could be from a rural area. You could be a first generation college student. You could be from the military. There are all kinds of different reasons and things that would make you an interesting part of the class. But the diversity statement is designed to tell us about those obstacles that you've overcome in your life to get to this point and how you will enrich the classroom. Because, and here is a really, really important point when we talk about diversity statements. When I talk about diversity, I talk about the educational benefits of diversity. If all I talk about is diversity, then all you need to do is just check a box. Just check any old box you want. Check them all. Check one. They're optional anyway, so you can, check two or three. Make it up if you want. No, don't do that because we're going to check up on you. But if you just check a box and say, okay, well, there's diversity, I'm going to look at that and go, so what? Because I'm not really concerned about what box you check. I'm concerned about the enriched class discussion that is going to occur because you're in that class.
When it comes to the law school application timeline, is there a certain point in the cycle that you would recommend one to hold off and wait to apply the following fall?
First, apply when you're at your optimal point to do well. And I would say once you decide to apply to law school, try to get your applications in by December 31 or January 1 of the year that you want to start. So, for example, for people who want to enter law school in 2021, which would be this coming August here at Iowa, I recommend that people get their applications in, would have gotten them in by, let's say, December 31 or January 1, about 2.5 weeks ago. I have plenty of room in the class, but more importantly, the scholarship budget is still fairly full. Once you start getting into mid-January, scholarship budgets start to shrink down, and I may be caught up in a situation of offering admission to someone, but I might not have the money to offer them in terms of scholarship, assuming they qualify for a scholarship. So if you know you're going to apply to law school, apply as early in the cycle as you can. On the other hand, if you're not sure if you want to go to law school or some other graduate program, or if you are not sure about being a part of a joint degree program or something like that, you can wait until the next cycle because you don't want to go through the work and effort and worry of trying to get into law school, trying to figure out how you're going to pay for it, asking yourself if you're really ready for it. You don't want to go into this endeavor with any doubt because when I make a decision on someone, I have no doubt. And it bothers me when I get people after I've offered them admission, they'll say, well, Mr. Byrd, I'm not really sure. And I thinking, okay, you just wrote a personal statement telling me that you were sure. You wrote a personal statement telling me that you were sure and you were ready and you were it. Now you're telling me you're not it. I'm not getting it. Okay, there's a disconnect here. So that's why I tell people if there's any doubt in your mind, as to whether you are really ready or interested in getting a law degree, wait. There's nothing wrong with waiting. I'd rather see people apply when they're at their optimal point to do well than to try to cram a law school application in at the very last minute. Now, we will get people here between now and May 1st, which is our application deadline. We will get people here who will apply and who will be offered admission and will probably get a scholarship. Like I said, the scholarship budget is beginning to get a little tight, but I know I still have some scholarship money for the 1Ls, the entering students available. Um, but I would rather see someone wait. If they're not sure, just wait until the next cycle. Once you've had time, work experience, and what comes along with time and work experience, maturity. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that people don't have work experience or they're immature, but I'm just saying you have lived life. You have figured out that through all the ups and downs that life has to offer, you will survive because we always do. Taking that extra time, it does give you time to save up money. It does give you time to continue to work. Hopefully everyone still is employed. I know we're going through some rough times here, but it does give you time to save some money, so that you can get into law school and start without having to worry about the financial pieces.
Yeah, and speaking about money, getting into law school is relatively much easier than paying for it. What's the right way to approach scholarship negotiations?
Apply early because there are four good things that happen if you apply early. And like I say, no matter which school you apply to, try to get your application by December 31 or January 1 of the year that you want to start. If you start getting past January 15th, the scholarship piece is going to get a little shaky because scholarship budgets all over the country are going to start to shrink. Most law school admissions processes work on a rolling admission basis. In other words, as files come in and become complete, we make decisions and we send them out, and we make our scholarship awards and send them out. People who apply early have there's plenty of money in the budget. So if they qualify, not everybody who is admitted qualifies for a scholarship, but if they qualify, there's money in the budget. But even before that, if anything gets lost in the admissions process, you can find it. You get the decision earlier. I'd rather have it earlier than later. And the fourth one is you have time to think about what you want to do. Um, Once you are offered admission and receive scholarship awards, please realize that there are some schools who are able to negotiate a scholarship and there's some schools who are not. Iowa is one of those schools that does not negotiate scholarships, but there are some schools out there that have a large enough budget where they can negotiate scholarships. Our approach here is to give out the best scholarship offer we have right off the bat, because we don't have as much money as some other schools. But for those that who apply to a school that have a big budget, you can go back and talk to them. Um, if you do decide to negotiate a scholarship, be ready to send a copy of the other scholarship letters that you've received from the other schools, because most admissions officers are not going to take your word for it that you received a scholarship from another school. So be prepared to send copies of the scholarship awards that you received from the other schools to which you have been admitted, and then see what happens. Again, some schools will negotiate, we don't. My belief is I'm going to give you the best shot I have financially, personally, professionally, in every way, shape, or form right up front. Um, and that's because I always get the impression that schools that are able to increase their awards, I kind of wonder why you didn't get it the first time. Why didn't you get it in the first place? Did they say, oh, let's see if this will get you? Okay, that won't get you. Okay, now we'll see if this will get you. Well, we'll see if this will get you. I don't play that game. I go, look, here's a scholarship award. Here, I think is what I'm able to give you right now, and then work with that. The only time I ever increase scholarship awards or ever have the ability to negotiate is if I know there's money left over near the tail end of the year. Like if I get into, say, June, July, or early August before school starts, and I know I have extra money in the scholarship budget, I may be able to enhance some awards because I didn't have the money when I first awarded it. But now that I have the money, I can maybe enhance some awards. But most of the time, I give the best award I can right up front.
That is really helpful information. And I know we spoke about COVID a little bit earlier and how it's impacted people's ability to get work experience. Have you seen that? Have you seen that COVID has impacted law school admissions and how the review process is done compared to previous years?
Yeah, I think COVID has caused or compelled law school admissions offices to be more flexible because a lot of schools this past year, undergraduate programs and law schools, went from a grade, a traditional A through F grade, to a pass fail. And it's a little bit more difficult to understand what pass fail means. I mean, did you pass with flying colors and you would have gotten an A? Or did you pass by the skin of your teeth? And I mean, a D is a pass. When you think about it, a D is a pass. So, but at the same time, we knew that COVID hit everyone in the same way. COVID is not discriminating in terms of who it hurts or how it hurts, and so we had to be more flexible. So I think that's what you saw with admissions officers and admissions processes. We were more flexible this year. Now that we know that schools have experience in figuring out how to navigate the COVID situation in terms of virtual learning, online learning, a blended process, and blended meaning some classes are in person, some classes are online, which is, as you know, that's what we're doing here at Iowa. Some schools are now getting much better at that, and so we may not be as flexible in terms of how we review files this coming year as or the year that we're in the middle of doing. Um, but it caused us to be more flexible.
That is good for those who are looking to see, oh, like when will I possibly hear back? Because I know things might have stalled last year since that was when COVID just hit the entire world. But kind of moving on, is it possible for one's application to be reviewed later in the cycle if they retake the LSAT and get a better score?
Yes. If you take the LSAT again and get a better score, or get any kind of update on your GPA transcript, or if you get a job promotion or something like that, feel free to contact the admissions office, and the admissions office will review that file again and take it into consideration. Now, uh, if your file has been denied admission, it's very difficult to get a review on a denial of admission because there's a real strong probability that whatever the reason for the admission, it was denied probably for academic reasons. And at this point in the career, your LSAT and your GPA are not going to be able to take a big enough jump. It's really hard to go from the numbers that got you denied admission based on academics to something that all of a sudden either put you on the wait list or get you in. But if you have an updated LSAT or GPA or something that happened in a positive way, in a professional sense, feel free to contact the admissions office, and the admissions office will review your file.
Really helpful. And speaking of waitlist, are there any tips for applicants on how to get off the waitlist? I know it's really nerve-wracking. People say write letters of continued interest. What can they do to possibly increase their chances?
Yeah, definitely write a letter, a sincere letter, saying that you're sincerely interested. And if it's possible, if you know in your heart that if you're offered admission to the College of Law, put that in there, saying, if I'm offered admission, I'm going to attend. The reason is every file on the wait list is going to be reviewed again before we make the final decision to either admit off the wait list or deny from the wait list. Every file is going to be reviewed again. And so if you have new information in that file, I'll look at that along with some other committee members, and we will give that file an extra look or two. Possibly, if we have room, possibly offer admission to that person. So sending a letter saying, I'm really sincerely interested, and if I am offered admission, I will enroll. That is very helpful. And also, please note, if you're on the wait list, it's because we like what we see in your file, but we just don't think we have enough room for everyone. There may be people who maybe have a slightly better LSAT or GPA or maybe some additional work experience, but there's enough strength in your file that we want to hold on to you. And if room opens up, we want to be able to review your file at that time, which is what I said before. We review every file before we make a final decision on it. Um,
That gives
so
people a lot of
yeah.
reassurance because that's kind of scary being on the wait list and not knowing if you have the chance of getting off.
Hmm.
The next question is a little bit different. It's regarding mental illness and disabilities, and it's considered a controversial part of an application. There's so many takes online that are probably discouraging people from sharing in detail those stories. How would you suggest applicants approach it?
I'd say be honest. When in doubt, tell the truth. Um, the thing that I'm concerned about are the people who have a mental illness or have a challenge, mental health issue, and don't take care of it. If you write and say, and that this would actually maybe would be something you could put either in an addendum. If it's a major reason why you're going to law school, put it in your personal statement and say, I want to go into mental health law or a health law policy or something like that, because I have dealt with these issues personally. I have learned how to deal with them and manage them. And I think I'm prepared now to go to law school and start this. And that's the key. I look for people who are who have found help and found assistance to deal with those issues. That is much more important to me because believe it, I mean, we all have something. That's one thing I've learned having done this for 35 years. Everybody's got something. And I think the thing that I like to see are people who have found help in helping to manage that something. If you can't eradicate it, manage it. Because I've learned to say, okay, I like you. That shows a lot of maturity and a lot of courage. You went to seek help because whoever asked that question is right. It is. I don't know if it's as controversial anymore as you might think because this is a key issue that comes up among conversation with my colleagues. So we're aware of it. But I do understand it isn't something that you necessarily want to tell the whole world about for a variety of different reasons. But if I find someone who has sought help, found help, and has had a consistent number of years where they've been able to make sure they stay on track and are able to have those outlets that help them, whether it's medication or anything. So for some people, it's physical fitness. Uh, any number of things that you can do to help you maintain yourself. If you have that, then you're okay. So if it's a reason why you want to go to law school, put it in your personal statement. But that would be a good addendum. You could say, here's why I want to go to law school. I want to go into corporate law. I want to work for 3M and do something with 3M. But, and here's the addendum piece, there's something you ought to know about me. I have dealt with X issue for a number of years. It took me a while to find the appropriate response to help me with this issue, whether it's medication, physical therapy, occupational therapy, or counseling or something like that. But I have now found that help. And I have now found the way that will help me get through school. I'm just going to continue with this help. That would be a nice addendum. And if I see that, I'm going to say, all right, good for you. Good for you. It is highly unlikely you're going to be denied admission because of that. That's probably not going to be the reason why you're going to be denied admission. You may be denied admission because relative to other applicants, I have applicants with stronger LSATs and GPAs or better motivation, stronger focus or something like that. But I'm not going to hold it against someone for having an illness, whatever the illness is, physical or mental or whatever, and if they seek help, that's okay.
That's really helpful. So, for pre law students looking at law school, what should they be doing first before they embark on the law school admissions process?
Okay, I love this question 'cause this is always fun because I go to programs and there's usually some shy freshman who comes to my table and is half scared out of their minds because they don't know what I'm going to say. And I first of all I tell them, relax. Here are the things that you need to do. There are 6 things, and this is my own personal list. There may be a longer list somewhere, but here are the 6 things that law school is going to make you do. Law school is going to make you read a lot, more than you ever thought you'd want to read. It's going to make you read a lot. Uh-huh. Yeah, I see you shaking your head. Yeah, you're nodding. It's going to
Yeah,
make you read. It's going to make you write a lot. The most important skill you can have as a lawyer and as a law school student is your ability to write. It's going to make you write a lot. It's going to make you research a lot. Being able to navigate a law library or navigate the law library online or navigate research sites. Usually it's a law library. That's going to be important. It's going to make you speak in public. At some point, you're going to have to get up in front of class or sit in your seat, but at some point, it's going to be your day to answer that question in class or take the class through that case. So being able to speak in public is important. Think critically. Don't believe everything you see, read, or hear. There are multiple sides to every story. There's side A, side B, somewhere in the middle is this thing called truth. Now, law school doesn't define the truth for you. Law school gives you the skills to get a little bit closer to the truth, but it's not going to tell you what the truth is. Like I said at the beginning, I don't judge your politics as long as what you believe in is legal and ethical. Same thing with law school. We just give you the skills to get a little bit closer to what the truth is or may be. So, reading, writing, research, speak in public, think critically, have a healthy respect for history. Judges make decisions based on precedent. Precedent is just another name for history. So, healthy respect for history. And the final thing is problem solving skills. And a part of that is being patient with the Socratic method. The Socratic method involves a lot of questions, and a question with an answer, and it begets another question and another question, another question, and it's kind of like peeling back an onion. Or peeling a banana. You're peeling and peeling and peeling and trying to get to the essence of what the issue is in a case or in a situation. That for some people is difficult because they don't have the patience to work through that. They want the answer faster, quicker. It's not going to happen in law school. It's a progress. It's a process that you need to just learn how to do. So reading, writing, research, speak in public, think critically, have a healthy respect for history, problem solving. So if you're a freshman or a sophomore, here are the things you need to do. Your freshman and sophomore year, study your butt off. Grades count. Grades count. Number two, have fun. College is fun. Now, there's a limit to how you have fun, right? We all know that. I had the good fortune of being an athlete in college, and so I had 55 or 60 other team members that we all kind of watched out for each other. So we knew when that fun was getting a little too crazy, we knew how to reverse engines and get out of there and go back to someone's dorm and watch pro wrestling or something on TV. We knew when to get out of there. But so study hard, have fun, and those are the two things your freshman and sophomore year. Number three, in your junior year, spring semester of your junior year, start studying to take the June LSAT. Once you've made the decision to go to law school, there's going to be an LSAT given. It's always given at some point during the summer between one academic year and another. Let's say June. I think it's also given in July and August and all this. But start studying in January of your junior year to take that summer LSAT. If you do well on that test, then you only have to take it once and you're done. If you don't do as well, you can always take it again later on in the summer or in the fall semester of, let's say, your senior year. Most law schools take the higher of whatever score you get. So I know it's a Saturday and it's kind of a pain. I mean, there are other things you'd rather do than sit and take an LSAT, but we will take the higher of whatever score you get. So it doesn't hurt to take it again. So that's the first thing. January of your junior year, start taking some prep class or prep on your own to take the LSAT. Second thing, in your junior year, start thinking about who's going to write your letters of recommendation. By then you will have chosen a major and chosen and taken courses from a number of different people. And so start thinking about who's going to write a positive, supportive letter. That's key. And sometimes you get these letters where the writer of the letter essentially torpedoes the opportunity for the person to go to grad school. And you sit there and you go, why'd you ask that guy for a letter? What are you, nuts? I don't know what happened between you two, but why did you ask him or her for a letter? Come on now. But by your junior year, you'll know who you did well with in terms of your courses. And the third thing in your junior year, start thinking about what you want to say in your personal statement. You don't have to write it, but start thinking about it, maybe outlining what you want to say in your personal statement.
That is really helpful because I don't think I had that guideline when I was thinking of law school. So that's really helpful. Well, thank you so much. This is really helpful, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will get so much benefit out of it. Well, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.